party with a whole bunch of the stars. But before they could get to the party, most of them have to stop and sign autographs, like George Montgomery. The next stop is the Beverly Wilshire Hotel, which is just across the street from the theater. Most people drove over in their fancy limousines. The room was appropriately decorated with little models. Airplanes, that is. Two gentlemen exchanged notes on flying around, Batman and General Curtis LeMay, retired Air Force Chief of Staff, who was a special guest of the studio. Your host exchanged notes with Jack Kruschen on how nice it was to stay on the ground. Besides, who wants to fly when Barbara Parkins is down here? Instead of hopping around in planes, I'd rather table hop and talk to Mr. Magoo, Pat Boone, Cesar Romero, and Agnes Moorehead. Richard Crenna is at the next table with his charming wife, Penny. And with him, another Richard, the very British Attenborough, Pip Pip. George Papard couldn't make the premiere. He was flying around the country for the Blue Max cars. So he sent his wife, Elizabeth Ashley. And who's going to complain about that? And nobody's going to complain about a couple of other beauties like Ann Miller and Lita Barron, Adu Lieber. So anyway, it was a long day with the planes and the premiere and the party. This Blue Max guy is a very busy fellow. Auf Wiedersehen, y'all. How did Red Buttons get started in show business? It wasn't easy to find out, but we finally managed, as you'll hear next on our Hollywood Backstage Close-Up. Red, I'd like to ask you folks in show business how you started, but would you tell me?
You mean how I started in the business?
Yeah.
Well, it's a simple story, John. I was working as a Japanese gardener for a very rich family in Beverly Hills. And they were casting Sayonara at the time. And I guess the producer, Bill Getz, liked the way I looked, you know, just fooling around with the calla lilies, which were in bloom. And the rest is history.
Yes, it is. But now tell me how you started in show business. Where are you from? What's the hometown, incidentally?
Hometown is New York City. I really started in show business on the streets of New York. It sounds like a cliche by now, but it's the truth. I knew right away when I was a kid, this is what I wanted. This is what I was going to do. And I went right out and I did it. And I made my own audience. I went out on the street corners. I sang. I did impressions. I danced. People threw pennies. I worked on the Brooklyn Bridge to anybody who would hear me. And then from there into amateur contests. And I just made my own platform anywhere I could be heard. And then I just went along. I went to the Catskill Mountains. I worked in burlesque, Broadway shows. Did not too much radio, but did the presentation houses before they went out, you know, like with the big bands. Into television, motion pictures, back to television.
No, but in motion pictures now, you have made the switch, and I have heard it said that for those familiar with comedy, drama is not too difficult. But you have done it in such a way as to, I really think, prove the point. Do you like doing these dramatic things?
Well, first place, I'd like to put a lie to the adage that being a comedian qualifies you to be a dramatic actor. It does not. I think that takes a special kind of skill, too. I think there are certain kind of comedians who can make the switch over, and a lot of them can't. Do I enjoy it? Yes, very, very much.
Feel in the mood for a party? Michael Callen's throwing a house party. It's a little informal get-together, and you're invited. And the guests, some of them, are some of the most intriguing you'll ever meet. So there was this nice American motion picture star, Michael Callen, that's it. And he said to us all, come to my house for a big Amerikansky dinner and meet lots of nice people. So we go, and was there this Bobby Darin, who's not so good as Charlie Chaplin, but he's pretty good. Another boy, also famous star, is James Darin, but no relative to other Bobby Darin. What means hot doggy? Also meet very funny man by name Don Nuts. He's nuts. How come we here, you ask? Now that you ask, I will tell you. We are members of the Bolshoi Ballet, the best company in the whole world. We have to say that, you know. We have relatives in Moscow. We are playing here in Hollywood Bowl, very nice place, and they take us on tour to show us how to make motion pictures. How they show us. Russians invent motion pictures. But anyway, at movie studio, we meet this Michael Callen star, who's pretty good dancer, too. He was in West Side Story. And he says, come my house, I give you hot doggies. Is really made from doggies? How come Russians didn't invent? But anyway, we enjoy a big Amerikansky dinner of hamburgers and hot doggies. Although would have liked little borscht and cup tea in glass. Came another young American singer, Tommy Sands, with very funny suit, which I think he tried to sell to James Darren. So there was this big cake, which say in Russian, help get me out of Siberia. That's a Russian joke. Can't say that in Moscow. So our host cuts cake, and funny fellow Misha takes whole half cake and runs away. That's old Russian custom. Take everything. And photographers take pictures for Pravda and Playboy, which are almost same thing. So Misha runs away with big piece of cake. Soviet, we don't get cake like this. We get marble cake with the real marbles. Soup is down now to half price. Now, this is something they will never believe in Minsk, Pinsk, or Schminsk. The world-famous Bolshoi Ballet, but dances in the biggest and the best halls in the world, are dancing Watuski Go-Go. Some ballerinas sit and watch this, while the others wiggle and waggle the Watuski. For this, they studied at the conservatory for 20 years. I don't know if they're sitting because they're tired, or because they ate too many hot dogs. Would you believe it? This boy danced in Swan Lake a few hours ago. This young American movie star, Michael Callen, he dances with Bolshoi star ballerina, and they make Whoopie Watuski together. I wonder how come Russia doesn't invent this kind of dancing. But all this thing could bring better relations between our two countries. Could end Cold War. Sure Tchaikovsky writes this music. I told you nuts is nuts. Now comes new American girl star Suzanne Plachette to party with friend Tony Callen. All Russian boys go. Oh boy! Suzanne Plachette could make all Russian boys defect to the West. Russians, you should know dancing in broken English. And I say for Bolshoi Ballet, America, great country. We have good time. When you come to Moscow, we will give you a Blinsky and teach you Kazatsky a go-go.